Hello, my name is Peter Parfitt. Welcome to New Brit Workshop and this workshop notes video, which I think is number 14. Now in this video I'm going to cover a little bit about the Leigh Dovetail Jig. I had a slight whoopsie with it, nothing to do with the jig, it's probably my technique. I'll cover that. I'm also going to cover how to get the centering done with the Festool OF1010 router when you want to do dovetail work, because the template guide used for the dovetail jig has to be absolutely centre or concentric with the cutter. And I'm going to do just a dash more about Centratec ended drill bits from Axminster, because when I made that most recent video, of course I've got my brad point bits. Now I've got a little set of these and I'll show them to you shortly. But first of all, I want to show you this. Now in a recent video I cut all the drawer bottoms for the chest of drawers I'm in the process of making. And I used my tracksaw cutting station to do that. And I said just how accurate it was. And I don't think I showed you. Well, I'm now going to do that. Now here's one of them. There's my engineer's square. I'm going to pop that on there, and I hope that that is absolutely crystal clear. I've got that held right against the side there. That is perfectly square, of course. Path guide system, you see. Now these are the extra cutters which I didn't show in the first video. The 6 here on the left are the brad point cutters, and they go 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12 millimeters. It's quite useful having a 12mm brad point bit, I can assure you. And then there are 2 countersinks. Now, if you're operating in wood only, then this so-called chatter-free countersink is rather good, and I'll show you that working shortly. And then there's this metal countersink, and you can use this for wood as well if you wish. Now it might seem a shame to use this on wood. I would reserve this one for metal if you get the 2. Well worth it. Now these so-called quick change bits are Centratec ended, and so it fits beautifully in this Centratec chuck that I've got here. And of course they cut really well, as you'd expect. A very, very clean hole. Let me go up to the larger sizes. And the exit hole here, that's the exit hole, is absolutely perfect. And there's the top side there, absolutely spot on. Now all these Fisch cutters are made in Austria, like all the Fisch tools. This is the 12mm. And again, just look at that exit hole there, absolutely clean as a whistle. Super duper. And that's where it went in. This is the 6mm. And again, absolutely perfect exit hole. Right, I've put the metal countersink in the pillar drill. It seems to make sense, and I'll actually put the other one in here after this shortly. And there we have that nice clean countersink. No roughness there at all. Very good. Now that was the 6mm hole I tackled there. Smooth as anything and a beautiful clean edge to it. I'll now do the 8mm. Again, rather nice. And I admit you wouldn't really want to try anything as big as this, but that's right on its limit, of course. Its diameter is just a bit too small for that hole. But these other 2 are perfect. I'll do the other sides. And there we go. Super. So there we have all those Fisch cutters from Axminster, and I've put the brad point ones at the back and the metal cutting ones at the front. Now I'm in the process of making a whole bunch of drawers with dovetail joints, and using the Leigh jig, fantastic jig, nothing wrong with that, but I had a mishap, and the mishap happened because I was doing one of the drawer fronts, and the piece of wood moved under the clamp on the jig, and the clamp was as tight as I could get it, and I don't know whether it's a combination of vibration or what. Anyway, so I've got a solution which I'm about to put into practice. And what I've done is I've taken the clamp, which is normally this way up, and I'm sticking on the underside here some sandpaper. And the idea is very simple. Double-sided tape, which means then that the sandpaper goes on like so, very easily, and that's the job done. Those two pieces will be more than adequate for what I'm doing. And then I'll place this back on here, and then carry on using it in the normal way. Now, I don't think this is a fault in any way with the Leigh jig. I think it's maybe it's my arthritic hands or wrists that I'm not quite tightening as much as I should. But anyway, there we go. That's my solution. I'm sure it'll work. Now, in order to use the Festool OF1010 router with the Leigh Dovetail Jig, you need the 704R adapter plate from Leigh. And it has this insert that goes in it, which is the actual guide bush itself. And that fixes on with a big knurled nut from the back here. But the key thing is that this 704R adapter plate for the OF1010 has to be centered. Now, just as a brief aside, the UJK threaded guide bush set, which I've got, I've had it for years and I've included it in many videos I've got, actually has the same size major aperture here on all of the pieces that would fit that same guide ring from Leigh. And so if you have that, then you can use all of these, and these give you a range of guide bush sizes. And I've just got to remind myself of those sizes. It's 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 24 and 30 millimeter diameter. So that's quite a useful set to have if you've got one of those. Now, the first thing to do is to remove this plastic insert for the base. There are two screws, and once that's removed, also remove the little dust extractor adapter bit that fits in there, because we won't need this when we're using the Leigh Dovetail Jig, because certainly in my case I've got the Leigh extraction bar which fits on there, and so I don't need to worry about the extraction at the router. So I've moved that out of the way, and now the idea is that we now fit this in place of that plastic part for the base. Now, those screws are not tightened up, but you can see there's plenty of room for adjustment. And so the trick is to use the centering mandrel, and it's the larger part here which would provide a centering action by pushing into the inner cutout of the 704 adapter. So I'm now going to fit this in the collet. I've lowered that down just to make it a little bit easier, pushing that down in. Now the collet I've got here is an 8mm collet. And that's that fixed. And now what I'm going to do next is to release the locking knob there. So now the spring action of the router is now forcing the mandrel up into that inner cutout on the 704R adapter plate. And in doing so, it's naturally, because the plate is currently able to move, in doing so, it's actually making that plate central to the shaft of the router. Now the trick now is to lock everything in place. and I'm going to put my thumb on top of the mandrel, and I've got my hand under the side of the base here to provide a positive action to keep that mandrel in contact with the 704. I'm going to tighten this up. I'm not going all the way, I'm just going to nip it one side, and then the same over here, nip it on the other side. And once they're both nipped, I'm then going to complete the tightening action, all the time pushing down with my thumb, and that's that job done. So I can now release the mandrel. So I've undone that, now I can remove that, and that's all we need the mandrel for. If you need to know the part number, this is the Festool 492187 centering mandrel. And now we can screw the actual guide bush itself into the adapter plate. Now this does need to be tightened up quite well, and although you've got a nice big knurled nut effectively on the inside, I've found that not to be quite enough. And so what I've done is I've made up a very simple little jig here. I keep it, I think, with my dovetail stuff. I can't remember. Where did I find it? I've made up this little jig here, and that fits neatly into there. And now it means I can just give that extra little tweak that it needs. It doesn't need a huge amount, and this isn't all that strong, but it is just enough to give that tweak it needs. Right, so that's in, and then all we've got to do is fit the dovetail bit, which is very, very easy. And this is one of the practice pieces I did before doing the whole lot, and I had to make a very, very minor adjustment just to close up the little gap you see there. But I'm confident those joints will be perfect. Well, that's all of the dovetail work done for the drawers for the cabinets now, so I can put the Leigh jig away, out of sight in the workshop, all safe in its little box. Well, that's it for this workshop notes video. I hope you found that useful. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.